minute and mark the holiday. You know, everybody looks forward to this weekend for the barbecues and the cookouts, and it really is an important holiday, you know, that we mark and honor those who gave their lives for their beliefs and for our freedom. And so, so to start, what I would like for us to do is just first, I'm going to honor anyone in the room who's a veteran. So if you served in the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, I'm going to invite you to stand. We've got some, yes. And then let us all just close our eyes and place our hands upon our heart for a moment and just breathe into our heart space as we send a silent blessing of gratitude for all of those who stepped beyond this life through their service to our country and to each of us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so it is. Yes, I like to do that to mark the moment, to mark the occasion. And so here we are. It's the last week of our focus on beholding beauty. And today my talk is I Walk in Beauty. So we've been looking at the divine quality of beauty, not the physical quality of beauty, of what's in now, right? One of the things that I love is that over the years, when you look at art through the generations, that what's considered beautiful changes, right? That it changes, you know. I often thought that I would be a great model in the 1700s, you know. They liked a little rounder men, you know, skinny supermodel twigs that we've got now. But anyways, and so what does not change is the divine quality of beauty. The divine quality of beauty never changes. It is that which moves us. It is that which inspires us. It is that which causes awe, that feeling, that deep resonance. It's something that speaks to our hearts and our souls, and it's not something that engages our minds. And so it's not like, oh, that's beautiful. It's like, oh, that's beautiful, right? You feel it when you behold something beautiful to you, and it's individual to each one of us. Something that I find beautiful, you might not. And something that you find beautiful, I might be repelled by. I don't know. I think most everything's beautiful, so I can find beauty in most. But it's that deep feeling, right? And what we realize about beauty is that it's actually a healing, rejuvenating, restorative presence. And that when you're in the presence of beauty, it has a healing quality to it. It has a nurturing and a restorative quality to it. And so it's important for us to incorporate beauty in the experience of our days, because it feeds our souls, it nurtures us, it heals our bodies, it brings peace to our minds. And so it nurtures our souls. You know, from Psalm 90, it says, "Let the beauty of the Lord our God be upon us." Let the beauty of the Lord our God be upon us. That's an affirmation of saying what we already know, which is God is in, through, and as all things. It is our spiritual belief that everything is spiritual, that the divine creator not only created all that is, but is infused in all that is and continues to be alive as its creation. And so, of course, let the beauty of God be upon us. It's an affirmation for us to open our eyes and to wake up to that, to see it. So this week, as we come to completion with this theme and this topic, I'm talking about how we train ourselves to walk in beauty. Realizing that each day, no matter what's happening, there's beauty there for us. And so we do this by practicing mindfulness. The reading that Suzanne did from Jon Kabat-Zinn is perfect, because it's really about how we are walking through this life. Not only walking is exercise, not only walking is getting from one place to another, but navigating the life that you're living. And can you navigate the life that you're living being mindful, being awake, being aware when you're in the present moment and when you're out of it? Because so often we get pulled off the present moment. We get pulled off of the present moment because our minds are doing one of two things. They're either ruminating on and regretting what happened in the past, or we're worrying about what's happening in the future. And sometimes those two things are happening at the same time. I used to have a spiritual teacher who said, 80% of your mind is there, 19% of your mind is there, and only 1% is here in this moment. And so if we can move those percentages, right, and my thing is like, let's just tip the scale. Let's start it by tipping the scale. Get to 51% in the present moment, you'll change your life. And you'll be able to move further into being present. But when we're in the present moment, we can harness our creative power. When we're in the present moment, we can see clearly what's happening around us. When we're in the present moment, we are not being held hostage by somebody else's belief system or somebody else's ideas. We are conscious and awake to who we are and present to what's happening in front of us. And that's the only time that we can behold beauty is when we're present. That's the only time that we can stand in the middle of a mess, right? And I don't know, maybe it's just me, that sometimes I have messes in my life. But sometimes life is messy, and we can stand in the middle of that mess, even if it feels uncomfortable or chaotic or you're afraid or whatever. But if you can be present in that moment, you can click into that place of realizing that you're not alone. When we have the power of the infinite behind us, guiding, supporting, and inspiring us to live this full life, we can't lose, and we can't stay in the mess. I've been on this movie kick lately. I know I've been talking about movies a lot on Sundays. But it reminds me of there's a scene in, oh my goodness. Hold on, it was right there. Bruce Almighty, Jim Carrey. Yeah, so he needs God, right? Morgan Freeman needs God. And he makes a mess. He lets Jim Carrey be God for a 3-block area for like a week. And he makes a huge mess, right? He just says yes to everybody's prayers. He cares only about himself, and he just wants what he wants, but he makes a huge mess. And what they do to clean it up is they mop the floor. They just do one thing at a time. And he cleans the whole entire mess up that he makes. And that image comes to me a lot when we talk about these things, because we can make our choices and create the experience that we've got, and we could end up in that moment of mess. We could end up in that moment where it feels uncomfortable, that we have to deal with a challenging coworker and a difficult effect of a choice you made to invest in something or to give something away or whatever it is. We end up with a mess, right? And it's about us being present to realizing, okay, this is what I would call a mistake, and I'm going to fix it. And doing the best that we can to do it. But in order to do that, we need to be present. We need to learn how to be in the present moment. And so mindfulness is a practice that guides and supports us in all areas of our lives. And the book for this month has been so helpful. This little book of mindfulness has these exercises in it that I've been taking one a day and just walking through the day and practicing it. They're so easy, it's so really well written. And one of the things that it does is it brings us back to reminding to be present when we're breathing, to realize what our breath is like. So often I lead centering or meditation at the beginning of our classes, and I invite everyone to take probably the first full breath that you've taken in the day. And that's 6 at night. Can you imagine not taking a full breath for the whole day? So we're not going to do that today. Everybody take a nice full breath with me. It's important to do that. Our breath connects us. It connects us to there's a reason why they call it inspiration, right? We inspire. We expire because we're connecting to the spirit. Breath is spirit. And it's that which feeds us and keeps us alive. Breath is how we connect to the peace that lives within us. And if we're not mindful of how we're breathing, if we're not mindful of how we're navigating our days, then there's no possible way for us to be present and to be awake. The other thing that it taught, there was another exercise that we put in the Sacred Circles this month. Anybody go to the Sacred Circles and have a new relationship to raisins? Yes, okay, everyone's there. Yeah, so we did mindful eating exercise with raisins. Someone said to me, I never knew what a raisin smelled like. You know, it was like, well, now you do, now you know. And so there's something about mindful eating. When we practice mindful eating, we're conscious of what we're putting in our bodies. We're conscious of the effect of what it is that we put in our bodies, how we feel. We have a choice. We have an ability to nurture and to support and love ourselves, or not. And what level do we want to be at? But we have to be awake and we have to be present to be able to do that. So when we are awake and present, what we do is we feel our connection to everything around us, right? We wake up to sounds we don't usually notice. We taste the sweetness of the food that we eat. We open to possibility and see what's truly going on around us rather than what we think is happening, because they're different things. What we think is happening and what's true for us are two very different things. And it's only when we can be present and awake and in the moment that we can start to see what's real and what's true. And so, the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh says, the practice of mindful walking, which is what we're focusing on today, is a profound and pleasurable way to deepen our connection with the body and the earth. We breathe, take a mindful step, and come back to our true home. So many of us walk for the sole purpose of getting from one place to another. Now just imagine how different it is to walk down the street in New York City and to walk up to the Mary's house in Ephesus in Turkey, right? The sacred spot. That's a sacred spot. How would you be walking down the sidewalk in New York? I used to be really good at New York walking. I was really good at it. My elbows were out. I was close to myself. I had my back straight, and I was fast. I was in New York City with my parents once for Thanksgiving. We all went down and had Thanksgiving in New York City to go see the parade and the balloons. And my sister and I took off in front of them going down this 5-story walk-up. My sister lived in a 5-story walk-up, and we had my parents there. It was really hilarious. And trying to get everybody to the parade. And we got down the steps, and we stepped out on the sidewalk, and my sister and I just took off walking. I wasn't thinking anything of it. And then all of a sudden I turned around, and my parents were a block and a half behind us. Because they were like this. Don't walk like that in New York City, Mom. That's not how it works. When you do that, someone's taking your wallet. You gotta go, And so how different is it when we walk, when we have to get someplace, or when we're trying to hold our space, or whatever, versus when we are at a sacred spot? One of my favorite places of the whole world is in New York City. It's the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. And there's a reverence. I can still smell it. I can feel what it felt like walking into that place. We walk differently when we are walking in a reverent manner. Well, the idea here is that your life is a sacred place. Where you step is sacred. You are the holy emanation of the divine. And so each step you take is a gift of the divine on this earth. And for us, this earth is our earth mother. And so it is a sacred moment. Wherever we are standing on sacred ground. And so the idea of practicing walking mindfully, of realizing the beauty of this life that we get to live is transformative. When we can remember that, when we can surround ourselves with that knowing, we create more reverence, we create more of the sacred experience. We can train ourselves to walk with reverence throughout our days. And if we can remember to walk like that, mindfully, carefully, purposefully, then we can be nourished with each step. And so the Navajo knew this truth. They knew the importance of walking with beauty, and they have a traditional prayer. As I walk in beauty, as I walk, the universe is walking with me. In beauty it walks before me, in beauty it walks behind me. In beauty it walks below me, in beauty it walks above me. Beauty is on every side. As I walk with beauty. I think that this is a great mantra to practice with mindfulness walking. This would be a good one. And so I'll put it up in the Facebook group so that we can play with it if you'd like. And so to walk in this way, we've got to notice each step. Each step made in mindfulness can bring us back to this moment, to the here and now. And so we go slow. We are purposeful. We don't rush. We're conscious of each step. We're conscious with each breath and how the breath is connected to each step. This is the time to stop running. Do you feel that? I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like I'm just rushing from one place to another to get this, to get that, to do this, to do that, to do this, to do that. And it feels like, wait a minute, when do we ever stop? And we don't, right? We get trained to be on this hamster wheel of running, and we don't stop until what? We either pass out or die. And that's what, and we measure our worth as to up against how much we get accomplished, or how much other people think that we get accomplished, right? And that has no bearing on how precious you are. We've got our priorities screwed up, I think. And so it's time to stop rushing and stop running around and be purposeful and mindful about how we are navigating our lives, about how we are moving through them. Because we can't be grounded in the present moment, and we can't be grounded in our bodies if our minds are somewhere else. And like I said, most of the time when we are rushing, we're thinking about what comes not next, but 2 steps down the road. Not only do I have to pick up Emily and get her to dance class, but I got to make sure I have her bun stuff, because she's got a recital next week, and if I don't get that bright red lipstick on Tuesday, the store's going to be sold out, and I'm going to be screwed. Welcome to my mind, right? So it's not just being present. Well, wait, can I do Sunday service first? Yes, we want to be present where we are, and that's the gift, right? Because when we can learn how to pull back to slow down and be present, it deepens our relationships. It allows us to just be present with life, to have a little bit of peace and a little bit of joy, and to kind of stick our heads up and look around and see what's happening. Because when we're running, we miss everything. We don't leave enough space in time in there to really connect and be present. And so when we're mindful, when we do our spiritual practice, and when we try to navigate things mindfully, it supports us in being present. It supports us in living a really powerful, connected life. And so Thich Nhat Hanh tells a story about a student of his named Sister Tree High, who spent a long time in prison. She was a peace activist that he knew since she was in middle school. And she came to the United States to study English literature before she went back to Vietnam and became a nun. And when she was out in the streets advocating for peaceful change there, she was arrested and put in prison. During the day, the prison guards didn't like her to sit in meditation. When they see someone sitting in a prison cell solidly and stably, it feels threatening to them. So she had to wait until it was nighttime, until the lights had gone out, and she'd sit like a person who has freedom. In outer appearance, she was caught in prison, but inside she was free. When you sit like that, the walls are not there. You're in touch with the whole universe. You have more freedom than people outside who are imprisoning themselves in their agitation. And so Sister Tree High also practiced the walking meditation in her prison cell. It was very small, and after only 7 steps, she had to turn around and go back the other way. But sitting and walking mindfully gave her space inside of herself. She taught other prisoners in her cell how to sit and how to breathe so they would suffer less. And they were in a cold cell, but through their walking meditation, they were grounded in the solid beauty of the earth. And so her story reminded me of that Bible verse from Romans 12:2 that said, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is the good and perfect will of God," right? So what happens is it's not about whether someone puts us in a cell, whether someone keeps us locked, someone outside keeps us locked in a certain way of being. None of that has any power over you, because you can always be free. You are the one who is in control of your mind, if you can get control of your mind. And we do that by waking up, by being present, and realizing that we have this opportunity to experience freedom no matter what. She was free because she transformed her mind to be able to realize that what was real and what was true for her versus what the experience could have been. And so what all of this is saying to me is this, is that we're being called to slow down. We are being called to slow down. It's enough. What you do is you are enough. And that whole, whatever is pushing us to constantly go and to go and to go. We need to calm down and slow down and let that go. Let our idea of our worthiness attached to how much we create, we need to let that go. We are worthy because we are. Because we exist, we are the divine gift. And so we are worthy just because of that. We're being called to wake up. We've been hypnotized in our brains by that loud noise that's out in our culture and in the world today. We are being called to wake up to see what is real and what is true and what is not. And again, I always go back to we each have our values and we have our actions. And when we are acting in accordance with our values, then we are awake. We have values, we have actions. In any one moment, are you choosing to act from your values or from the pressure of the outside world? And we're also being called to be present. Surrender that worry. Surrender that mind chatter that just keeps us focused and keeps us, stressed out all the time. We need to surrender to the fact that there is a presence in this life that loves us, that this universe is for us, not against us, that this life can be glorious and joy-filled. I've sat with so many people over the last couple of years who are suffering. They're in a lot of pain about what's happening in the world today. There's a lot of fear and of worry and pain happening in many people's lives. And it doesn't matter what it's really about. This is not a political statement. This is on all sides and all sides of the coin and every whatever. I've spoken with lots of people. But what I have realized is, is there a call for concern in the world today? There is. We've got some work to do. But Ernest Holmes says that when things look the worst, it's the best time to do our work. We've got some work to do. And I know that we can do it. But I also know that things aren't as bad as they seem. That there is still kindness and compassion happening person to person. That there is still people reaching out their hands of support to one another. I know that people are still fundamentally good and want to support life and want to support their families and want to create something that works for most people. I know that that's true. And as we step into that knowing, as we each claim it and call it forth and allow it to be the truth in our lives and in everyone's life in this community, it ripples out into the world and we can make a difference. I'm going to end with an Ernest Holmes quote today. Well, it's a collaboration, let's say that, because I thought he did really well, but he didn't go quite far enough, so I added to it. I think he'd be mad. All right. So, let's see. We're going to start this. I'm going to read it, and then we're going to do it as an affirmation. But this is what Ernest Holmes said. Divine beauty is everywhere. In this beauty I am beautiful. In this infinite warmth and color I live and have my being. Its beauty flows through every act. Its charm and grace manifest in every moment, in every thought, imparting itself in love to everyone I meet. Today I see beauty in others, the charm, the grace, the presence of the living Spirit. So let's say that together, shall we? Together, ready? Divine beauty is everywhere. In this beauty I am beautiful. In this infinite warmth and color I live and have my being. Its beauty flows through every act. Its charm and grace manifest in every moment, in every thought, imparting itself in love to everyone I meet. Today I see beauty in others, the charm, the grace, the presence of the living Spirit. That's Ernest, then I added 2 more. Today I see the beauty in myself, in the life I live, and the love I share with those around me. Finally, today I see the beauty in the world. I surrender my connection to the things of this world and raise my eyes to the holy sacred presence